Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor. We're doing this review a little bit differently. If you're just tuning into this one and you didn't see our Prius Prime review, I was a little harsh on the Prime. And it's not that I don't like the car. I actually quite like both the Prius Prime and this gasoline Prius. In fact, I think this standard hybrid Prius is the way to go between the two cars. But they're both really cool. They look good. They've got a lot to offer. But what I want to talk about more so today, more than just the review of the car, because there's plenty of those out there already, I want to talk a little bit about the marketing and PR hype train and how good of a job Toyota is doing at it, and what the actual average car buyer here in America prioritizes. So first things first. New Prius. This is the 5th generation of the car. I should point out, I was an owner of a 2nd generation Prius. I quite enjoyed the car. I liked that it was inexpensive. It was very reliable. It was efficient, both energy efficient, didn't cost a lot to run, and it was very practical. I'd put bikes in the back, I put people in the back, I did food delivery with it. It was a very utilitarian sort of vehicle, even if it was just kind of a shapeless egg car going down the road. And there are a lot of people that appealed to. People liked the 2nd generation and the 3rd generation Prius. I've got a good friend with a few people that I know with 3rd generation Priuses. Kurt Kreifels, another YouTuber out there, has got a 3rd gen Prius. So there's a lot to offer. And then the 4th gen came around and it was pretty ugly. I mean, there's no getting around that. The 4th generation Prius did not offer much from a look standpoint, even though the rest of the car was actually quite good. In fact, I had a conversation with the Topher, another YouTuber, when we had a Prius we were reviewing, a late 4th gen Prius. He said, I really like the Prius. It provides everything you need in a car, and it's so cheap to run and everything. I was like, yeah, I do too. It's a shame it doesn't look great, but it's a really good car. So now we get here to the 5th generation car. What they did is they reduced the utility aspects of the Prius. They increased the cost of the Prius. They made it look better and they made it drive better. Now, I enjoy good driving cars. I really do. But realistically speaking, the most time you spend in your car, especially a car like the Prius, is doing boring driving. That's why luxury vehicles try to isolate you from the driving experience. They want to make it as simple and removed as possible because people just need to get to where they're going. It's such a small subset of people who actually drive their cars to enjoy them. And yeah, having a car with a little bit of driving excitement can certainly introduce enjoyment into your day-to-day driving routine. I mean, that's why the GTI was such a popular car among really a lot of people. It's just because you got so much driving fun in a normal kind of economical package. But the new Prius isn't a GTI. It isn't even a Golf. It isn't that level of fun. It's not even a 6-speed manual econobox sort of level of fun. It makes nearly 200 horsepower, so plenty of get up and go. It gets out of its own way perfectly fine. It's got a small steering wheel that feels good in the hands and an engaged driving position and ergonomics, and it does drive well. It rides well. The steering is good. There's absolutely nothing offensive about how it drives, but it doesn't encourage you to go take it to a track day. There's anything to that level that people are saying. If they're saying that the new Prius is really exciting to drive, it's hyperbole in its hype. It's simply not true. It's a good, competent driving car. And at the end of the day, Toyota is the largest auto manufacturer in the world. I mean, I know they go back and forth with Volkswagen and GM, but the largest manufacturer in the world, they're going to know how to build a good car. We know that they're capable of that. So now all of a sudden the Prius doesn't excel at being utilitarian anymore. If you want a car that's going to get really good fuel economy and be inexpensive and reliable, you get the Corolla hybrid. That one has more practical interior space and it's going to cost a good bit less. And if you need even more space, Toyota gives you the RAV4 hybrid, which you could probably get, especially after dealer markups, get for less than the cost of this Prius, and you're getting so much more space inside and in the cargo area, and it's easier to get in and out of, and you can get it with all-wheel drive, which you can with the Prius here as well also, but you're getting that extra ground clearance of the RAV4, so you can take it off-road easier, or you could get through snowy driveways easier. You can get up into curbs. I know around here in Southern California, there's a lot of parking lots you go in and out of that the front of the Prius is scraping on, but a RAV4 would be able to bound right through there. Now the Prius looks good, and it's a little bit more efficient than the old car. I mean, when we're talking just a few miles per gallon in either direction, at this point, when you're up around 50 miles per gallon, the savings you're going to have year to year are so minuscule. I mean, we're talking maybe $50 in fuel savings over an entire year compared to an outgoing Prius, so it's negligible at that point. And there are so many more people who would rather spend a little more on fuel in order to get a higher driving position and more usable space inside of their car. What stands out to me the most about this new Prius is how successfully Toyota has been able to hype it up. Toyota has made a marked decision over the last few years to stop making boring cars. And I love that. I really do, because I've always liked Toyotas, but I've always not liked how boring they were. In the mid-20 teens, later 20 teens, every Toyota was this blob driving down the road with minimal style and minimal driving. I don't even want to say driving engagement, but everything about being in the car felt like driving a soft helicopter mom sort of marshmallow mobile. And outside of a few Lexus F products, there really wasn't anything exciting about anything Toyota made. Yeah, they have the GR86, but that was essentially just a Subaru rebadged. But then Akio Toyoda and the Toyota team decided that it's time to stop building boring cars. And we're starting to see the fruits of that labor now. We're seeing much better infotainment, we're seeing more exciting design language, and we're seeing more straight up exciting cars like the GR Corolla, like the Supra. Again, they had to borrow from BMW, but they're doing it. They're putting effort into making their lineup more exciting. And I really think that's great. I do. But you can't get caught up in the PR and marketing hype of the new Prius just because it looks good and it's got more power than the outgoing model doesn't all of a sudden make it this perfect car for everybody out there on the road. There are tons of good looking, reliable, efficient cars out there on the market that have more room inside them and are easier to see out of and easier to get in and out of than the new Prius. And a lot of them will cost you less as well. Some of them are even made by Toyota. And if they're not made by Toyota, you can get them from Honda or Hyundai or Kia, or who else is going to sell you something like this? Subaru or Mitsubishi, for gosh sakes. What Toyota has done is they've gotten the journalists, these people, same as myself, who get invited to these fancy events and are given these brand new snazzy cars fully loaded up here for free. We get to drive them around and run our errands and shoot our videos and go do cool things and live this dream life with these brand new cars. And Toyota has gotten everyone to just say, yep, Prius, good. Prius, great car. All the way to the fact that it just won the North American Car of the Year award. Even though the Honda Accord was in there that costs pretty much the same model to model and will provide you pretty much the same levels of equipment inside, but gives you more room and gets, a little bit less fuel economy and maybe doesn't look quite as cool, but is going to be much, much more practical for the average American and average North American buyer. Another colleague of mine, Henry Payne, voted for the Accord over the Prius, and I agree. I think the Accord is a more universally beneficial product for the average buyer than the new Prius. Toyota has just had amazing success with branding and marketing this vehicle, and you know what? Good for them. That's their job. The Toyota PR team, it's their job to put people in these cars and to get them hyped up and to get them to tell you without explicitly paying you off, even though in marketing they're actually paying for ad time, but in kind of the PR side of things, they're sort of giving you a little tank of fuel and use of the car and in exchange saying, hey, new Prius, it looks really good. It's a good car. You should say good things about it. And every now and again, the hype train just really gets chugging away, and that's been the case here with the Prius. So I don't know why I feel this need to play devil's advocate, because at the end of the day, I do like the car. I really do. I've been comfortable in it. I've been getting low 40s in fuel economy. Well, mid 40s, 43.9 mpg over the last 160 miles for me here. And that's been probably 60 to 70% highway, as somebody would commuting, I would say, on the highway. So I'm getting good fuel economy. The sound system's a C, decent enough. I like the physical controls. I like the 12.3-inch touchscreen. I like the shifter. I like where your phone goes. I like the seats. Everything in the cockpit is really good, and the driving experience is good. Things I don't like the visibility. It's very low. The A-pillars are long. It makes it so there are big blind spots. I don't like getting in and out of it because it's very low. I don't like the fact that if this were my only vehicle and I needed to put people in the back, I would have a tough time putting adults back there and having them be comfortable for a long period of time. I don't like that there's no spare tire option. And I don't like that there's not a ton of room in the trunk. There was an actual time that I had to take the Prius Prime to the airport, and my checked bag and my backpack both didn't fit back there without taking out the cargo cover or putting my backpack in the rear seat. Whereas if I were in a Camry, it would have totally fit back there in the trunk, and I would have had plenty of space in the back seat as well. So I like the car. I just would get a RAV4 or a Camry, being honest. And I know a lot of people who would be better served with a RAV4 or a Camry. What the Prius is now, more so than the previous models, is a niche car for somebody who does a lot of driving, doesn't want to be pinned down to an electric vehicle lifestyle where they have to charge up at home, and they primarily only use the front two seats and don't take a lot of things with them. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people who fall into that category. And if you like the way the Prius looks, fantastic. I buy one. Seriously, it's a good car. It's priced reasonably. It looks cool. It's got a lot of great features. Heated, cooled seats, heated steering wheel. You can get this one in all-wheel drive. There's a lot to like about it. But don't think that this Prius is the same as previous Priuses. And by the way, it is Priuses. Go ahead and look up how to pluralize a proper noun that ends in an S. It's Priuses. So don't think it's the same as the outgoing Prius, and don't think that it is this new wonder car on the block. It's a good car. It's a good car for the right sort of buyer. But just as I wouldn't recommend a Miata to somebody who's trying to carry multiple people or live with a family or take long road trips, and I wouldn't recommend a Ford F-350 to somebody who just needs to commute to work back and forth, or maybe just needs to throw a dog in the back. I also wouldn't recommend the new Prius to anybody who needs to regularly do any sort of dirt road driving or kind of off-road or rough road driving. I wouldn't recommend it to somebody who needs to regularly use their back seats or cargo area. And I wouldn't recommend it to somebody who's really looking to stretch their dollar, because you can get more affordable and efficient cars even from Toyota. So that's it. We're not driving the car today. It drives really well. Have a conversation with me in the comments. And in fact, you know what? Before I end this, we're going to go check out our Prius Prime comment feed real quick here. And we're going to just take a look. We're going to talk to some of those points here. Okay, so somebody says, I'm 6'1" and I have plenty of headroom in my 2023 Prius, the glass roof. Don't get me wrong. Driver's seat headroom, not bad. I'm 5'10". I've got this much space from here to the roof. Driver's headroom, good. No problem there. I mean, like I said, it's a little hard to see out of, but there's room. Biggest issue is having to duck my head when getting into the car. Okay, yeah, see? Got that pillar right there. Not the roomiest vehicle. It's adequate for him because his kids are grown. Yeah, fair enough. He charges because this was the RAV4, or the Prius Prime we were looking at. He said RAV4 Prime would be an excellent alternative, but it's much more expensive and difficult to find. Fair enough. For me, the combination of being of better than average power and handling for this type of car, great aesthetics, excellent efficiency. Okay, so yeah, I mean, those are all good things. Try finding one in stock. Dealers are actually selling the Prius with additional dealer markups. That's how popular they are. Part of that, especially with the Prime, is that Toyota was very limited in how many they could make. they only made like 10 or 15,000 2023 Prius Primes, and I think it was like 50,000 Priuses. You have to understand, Toyota is this wildly large, international company. They can project how many of a car they think they're going to be able to sell, and if they thought the Prius would have been even more popular, they would have allocated resources away from other models in order to build more Priuses. So part of the reason there are markups and there's a scarcity is on the supply chain in the Toyota side of things, not simply because everyone and their mother is going out and buying one. Fair enough. I think a lot of people actually are actually on board. So yeah, it's a good car. It really is, for the right sort of buyer. Even the Prime, for the right buyer, it's awesome. And at the end of the day, that's what's so great about the new car market here in America, is that we do have so much variety. And whether you want American, Asian, European, you want small, medium, large, efficient, some diesels, some electric, some hybrid, some plug-in hybrid. There's so many options for so many different sort of use cases, and that's great. So I don't want to take away from the Prius for that reason. Just know, it's different than the 4th gen and every gen before it, except for kind of the first. That's kind of going back to the 1st gen. And it's a very niche car, but it's good. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Prius, check the link below. We've got the fuel economy tests, we've got the sound tests, infotainment breakdown, we've got the Prime coverage, all of it there. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, reasonable car on.